Welcome into TFW Live, the best kept secret in fantasy football, where we keep that week one feeling going all year long. This is episode 350, where we will be talking all things waiver wire for week 10. The perfect week 10 is upon us, and hopefully you have a perfect waiver wire this week. Get all your bids, get all your waiver claims, and have them go through. But first, I want to let you know that support for TFW Live is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle, and you can join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer just for you, Whisper Nation, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TFWMAN at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code TFWMAN. For those of you that don't know and do know, I am Big Travie, and I'm joined here by our producer extraordinaire, Donnie Tubbs, a.k.a. Don Flicht, a man who is about to be married in 12 days. And so, Donnie, we don't usually do this, but I want to open it up to you a little bit here to start the show.
Uh-oh.
What is the one thing you were not expecting in this wedding process that has just taken you completely by surprise?
Oh, shit. I don't want to get in trouble here. Let's see. One thing that took me by surprise was how amazing my fiance has been through the process. And, I'm like second fiddle to her. She's like taking charge and I'm just helping her where I can. And kudos to her for doing all the right things and killing it.
Well, that's awesome. And shout out to Nicole, who's, whether or not she's watching, Donnie's a smart man. He gives her all the props right now. He's already learning. He's not even married, and he knows happy wife, happy life. But shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Whisper Nation, Emmanuel, Albert, Jersey J, Andre Silva, everybody in the house. Appreciate you. Everybody wishing us well. Don Flicht saying, Emmanuel saying, hello, Don Flicht. Hello, Travie. Hope all is well. Hope all is well with you guys. And we are excited to get into these waivers. And we are excited that you guys are here to join us. Get those questions in for your waiver wire. I already saw, of course, Jersey J pouring in his stuff. But as you can see, Jersey J is a VIP member of the YouTube, and he supports through a monthly subscription. And I got to shout out Jersey J, Donnie Tubbs, Eric Lorenzen, John Credit, Brett Zabo, Nick, Bailey Ziegler, Don Caples, Gus Ramos, Hannibal, and Pizza Belly. For just $5 a month, you can join that list of YouTube members and support the show through that monthly subscription. So hit join next to the video right now if you'd like to join that. And if you just love fantasy football and you want to be part of a community that puts out daily content, you belong in this community, go ahead and hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. We're trying to get just one more subscriber on this stream, just one more, and it could be you. And if you're new, let us know where you're in from, and we will shout you out at the show. Now, as a reminder, Donnie, as I like to tell everybody here, we're going to work through the top waiver wire ads for this week. We've got a few big names. We've got to talk about some guys that we were trying to get preemptive on last week. We were telling Whisper Nation to kind of get going on. But if you guys want immediate answers to your question, remember, we are hoes for the does. So we will go ahead and give you a whisper. We will answer your question immediately if you hit us with that super chat. Otherwise, we're going to start rocking and rolling.
Yeah, you should hit that because you don't know which woo you're going to get, apparently. There's
there's many of them.
So you'll see.
And it caught Donnie off guard on Sunday. So we'll definitely get to it. Yeah. We appreciate every single one of you in here and those that give us the super chat as well. And we appreciate a crop full of great waiver wire ads. As you can see on the cover here, Justin Fields, who we'll get into, scorched earth right now. His tour of proving the haters wrong is on fire right now. We got OBJ rumors swirling, and then, of course, Jeff Wilson on the cover here. But we will start, as we always do, with the running back position, because that is the most scarce position. That usually is the most important position as you go to build your rosters, you go to bolster your rosters, you go to try and win each week. And we're going to start with the most added running back off of waivers. What's up, Ronald, in the chat here? Says, yo. Nice to see you, Ron. The most added running back right now on waivers via Sleeper is the running back from the Miami Dolphins, Jeff Wilson, who's rostered in about 50% of Sleeper leagues. We talked about him last week and his familiarity, Don, with this, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel running scheme. Well, that only equated to him kind of taking over this backfield. 12 touches, 51 rushing yards, 21 receiving yards with a receiving touchdown, averaged over 5 yards per carry when you watched, highlights of this game, when you looked at Wilson's stat line, what was your big takeaway with Wilson here? Do you think that he's completely taken this backfield over, or at least on his way to doing so?
I don't know about taking over, but you can definitely tell the coach trusts him. I mean, you don't see it very often when a top running back goes to a new team and he puts in the work right away. You don't see that very often, but they know him there, so they trusted him right away. They needed the help, and it looks good. And I'm kind of glad I picked him up in a few places because I think he's going to get more and more work every week.
Yeah, and I do too, and I think I'm willing to start him this week against a bottom 5, bottom 10 matchup against Cleveland. So there is going to be a situation where I think that he is going to be maybe a 1A to Mostert's 1B.
He was already RB8 in PPR.
Right.
His first week there. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm excited. He has Cleveland, then a bye, then Houston. His late season's a little tough, but he has a few greens in there. So I'd pick him up if you can. If you have a spot and you can drop someone else, we'll talk about who we can drop for him. But I'd be
so Mostert 1 catch over his last 2 weeks, and you saw Wilson come right in 3 for 3 for 21 and the receiving touchdown. That's something that Wilson didn't get a lot of work in San Francisco. They didn't throw to their backs a ton, but it seems like something Tua is willing to do. We've seen Chase Edmonds get involved. We've seen Mostert get involved. If Wilson's going to be the all-around back, I really like what Wilson can do here. And like you said, he's got some decent matchups coming up. Cleveland the bye, then Houston, and then look at that Chargers matchup to start the fantasy playoffs. Like that's some goodness.
Everyone against the Chargers, man.
Yes,
that I didn't see that coming preseason.
That's actually the 14th is not the playoffs; it's the week before. So definitely could help you in your playoff run here. Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to the second most added running back on waivers. Technically, he is not. I think he's like the third, but I had to get him involved here because Blackshear was the second most added.
Blackshear second, yeah. I'm looking at it right now.
Because he got some receiving work, but I just decided to go with Chuba Hubbard here because I think
Chuba's out.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Chuba's out. It's chasing the points. It's chasing the reps. Chuba got the start over Foreman when the initial CMC trade happened. So I like that you included Chuba here over Blackshear.
Yeah, I think just Chuba's the right call, right? Because as you said, Chuba out, so the receiving work was there. And we also saw that Foreman isn't the all-around, workhorse we thought he was going to be. He ceded that work to Blackshear, as we talked about. And this game against Atlanta, if you could pick up Chuba and you need a desperate start, I don't think it's a terrible start to get Chuba involved there. We've seen them wanting to work when both were healthy, Foreman and Hubbard. They wanted to work both of them within the roster, so I don't think it's a terrible ad. The third most added guy, I guess it's fourth most, but the guy I wanted to talk about the most is like the number 3 option here is Jerick McKinnon. And he's rostered in 23% of sleeper leagues, and he's getting a bump here. And, pick a day, pick a running back with the Chiefs. It's like every other week we've got the new guy in here. But Donnie, I'm actually kind of really excited about McKinnon as opposed to the other backs because I think his role as the passing down back is secure in this offense. And if they get into tough game scripts or game scripts where they're going to be pushed to score, you look at dates with the Chargers, dates with Cincinnati. If Denver could get their stuff together, Seattle is in here. We know about Seattle's give up to the receiving backs. So to me, I think McKinnon in a PPR, full point PPR, is an interesting guy that you can rotate in as kind of that bye week filler, that injury guy. I'm okay with McKinnon being here. And there are some situations where I would actually take McKinnon over Chuba Hubbard and Raheem Blackshear, which got the graphic work. As you see, it's a live show, so the graphic work got changed around here. But either way, how are you feeling about McKinnon and his outlook?
The reason I'm most excited and most scared maybe is McKinnon had 62% snap share last week. You don't see that from the Chiefs running backs all year long. I think it's all of them are hovering around 30 to 40%. They're throwing them in here and there, but McKinnon able to get the 62% share. He was a RB21. It's exciting. I'd be confident in picking him up. I think I might pick him up over Chuba and Raheem, but I wouldn't pick him up over Jeff Wilson though.
I'm with you there, and that's the line I would draw as well. And I think the reason being is, look, the Chiefs already had their bye. Right before the bye, what did they say? Isaiah Pacheco, he's our starter. He goes out, barely gets any touches. Then after the bye, you think maybe he'll get a bump. Very bad matchup. So this could be matchup dependent here, because if you look at the Titans, they're the number 2 defense against fantasy running backs as far as points allowed, meaning they allow the second least. So McKinnon could be one of those plays that is just going to be good against the right matchup. But I'll tell you what, as this game went on, Donnie already pointed out the 62% snap share, meaning as this game went on and it got tighter and tighter and the drives got more important, who was playing more? Jerick McKinnon. This is what we saw last year when CEH kind of flunked out last year. McKinnon was their guy in the playoffs and down the stretch, and the guy they activated and started over CEH in the playoffs. So again, I would go ahead and grab McKinnon because it could be one of those late season shifts here. We're already post-bye, so it's not like it should be that crazy that McKinnon outsnapped him here.
And you talked about playoffs. His playoff run is
playoffs.
Houston. We ain't talking about playoffs. Playoffs. Houston, Seattle, both in the green, and then Denver, which is in the orange. But the first 2 playoff weeks, Houston and Seattle, beautiful matchups, especially for pass catching back.
Yeah, and he's already got a date with the Chargers in a couple weeks. Yep. Cincinnati in a game they'll probably need to score in. So there are some matchups to exploit here as we look through it. So that's the top 3 added. But I want to bring up again, and I feel like we're beating a drum here that we continuously beat here. Rachaad White, he's at 50% rostered.
Yeah,
we've had the reports come out. Donnie, I'll let you take this. We've had the reports come out here that Leonard Fournette basically was frustrated, right? That he was taken off the field. We saw Rachaad White lead them in rushing last week. Now, that's not a lot. They have not been good at running the football. But the fact that we're seeing more, and then we had a beat writer predict today that one of his 5 predictions for the end of the year is going to be that Rachaad White takes over the backfield. Now, I think this could be a lot to do for nothing. But I do like White's prospects if you're looking for that stash, that dart throw. We already know about the contingency with injury, but how are you feeling about White? Where would you rank him with the guys we're talking about today?
Yeah, well, I think all season long since preseason, we have been holding on to White in a few places because we're excited for that possibility. You know, Fournette carries ball so many times, it's going to put some wear on those tires. And late playoffs, Rachaad White's going to come in and lead people to the playoffs and lead them to victories. The only reason I'm a little more tentative on this is because the Bucs have not looked very good. So I don't know if I want that backfield right now. I mean, they have Tom Brady, of course, they can turn around any moment. That being said, I want him on my bench until he explodes. And I'm willing to hold on to him. I think if I didn't need to start a running back the next few weeks, I'm picking him up and stashing him over everyone except for Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. Like if you're not in the dire need of starting one of these Carolina backs or even a McKinnon in like a pass-friendly game environment, I do like that call there. But if you look at what the Bucs have coming up, potentially they have Seattle this week. I mean, is there a world where Rachaad White's a decent play in PPR formats because of the way that Seattle gives up to the receiving backs? Then we have the bye, right? So week 11 to maybe change things up if they were going to. So that's kind of where I'm at with White. Is I think he's a coin flip. He's definitely a lottery ticket, but I think he's right there in that mix with McKinnon. So I think it's really preference to you. If you prefer the offense with Kansas City, go ahead and snag McKinnon and then put White beneath him. But I actually like White. But I have that bias. I've been banging White's drum. I drafted him in Dynasty, so I've been really in on him. But I do think we've got guys coming in here talking like Albert. Buccaneers rank last in rushing yards per game. Yeah, when we were talking about Rachaad White leading them in rushing, that's because he got 27 rushing yards, okay? God. That's what led the Buccaneers in rushing against the Rams. God. So, again, it's not like there's a ton of, like, meat on the bone here. But if I'm confident in any of these struggling teams, Denver, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, any of these struggling offenses to get going, it's probably Tampa Bay, right? Like, that's the one you could be like, okay, I could see it. They got a bye coming up. They've got a lot of talent there, and Tom Brady, the GOAT. So, all right. So we'll move on here to the droppable running backs. Donnie, we got our boy Deion Jackson as the most dropped running back right now. Eno Benjamin as the second most, and Ronnie Rivers. What's your biggest takeaway here? Are you willing to go ahead and let the ship sail on Deion Jackson? Had a terrible game. You talked about it, 5 points in most formats. Really bad matchup. We got Jeff Saturday. Basically making, some nobody the play caller and they're playing the Vegas Raiders, where the line has jumped up to 6.5 in favor of the Raiders. The Raiders who just dropped one to the Jaguars. So is there anything to like here about Deion Jackson going forward?
I mean, I like him better than these two other options up there. If I had to drop one of these three, if I had to keep one of these three, I'm keeping Deion Jackson because he's the most unknown. Eno had his chances and opportunities against bad defenses, against receiving running backs, and he hasn't really done it. He did it on a Thursday night. He had an okay week. Before then and since then, subpar. And Connor's getting healthy. Connor's here.
They were using Keontae Ingram even too.
Yeah, he was in there. Yeah, when they were deep in the end zone, Ingram was in there over everyone. So, and then Ronnie Rivers, just throw him away for any of the guys we mentioned. I'm not keeping Ronnie Rivers right now.
I have to fix my headphones here.
And for Deion Jackson,
go ahead. Sorry.
For the people that we talked about to keep and hold on to, I'm dropping him for Jeff Wilson. And I think that's where I draw the line again. I think I'm excited for that 10 target week he had the first time JT was out excites me. We don't know what Jeff Saturday is going to do. So
yeah, I think the only thing that gives me a glimmer of hope with Deion Jackson, terrible matchup last week.
Yeah.
Gets the Raiders this week. If you're a coach coming in and you have no idea what to do, and I'm not saying Jeff Saturday's an idiot and can't get a game together.
You heard it here first everyone.
This was a terrible, way out of left field hire, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's like clapping back on it, right? But if I'm Jeff Saturday, what am I going to do? I'm a lineman. I'm going to run the ball. I'm going to run the damn ball, right? So if we get JT out in this game against a softer Raiders defense, I think Deion Jackson, and as I'm saying this, I'm putting the clown makeup on my face because I just did this last week with Deion Jackson. But I'm with you there. I think it's Jeff Wilson, then probably Deion Jackson, and then that tie between McKinnon and White. These other two can be dropped, I think, for any of those guys we mentioned. If you agree with that, let me know. Knock on wood if you're with me. There we go. Beautiful.
Got you.
So here we go. At the wide receiver position, the most added wide receiver via Sleeper, Odell Beckham Jr., who is listed as finalists as the Packers, the Cowboys, the Bills, and missing one. I can't remember. I think it was the
Rams.
The Rams, maybe. I don't think he's going back to the Rams. I think that's where everybody kind of stands here. But we saw him, caught a ton of touchdowns in the Rams down the stretch. A lot of the sports doctors we follow, including Edwin Porras, who we had on the show, think that he won't be back before anytime before week 14, and looking at week 14 through 16. So it's definitely like a playoff stash. And guys, I see all your.
Did he say that recently?
He said that, yeah, he's got that a little bit more updated.
Okay.
Now, we had Jay Glazer in Sunday, or we didn't have him, but we saw Jay Glazer report that he could be cleared to practice by the end of the week, which puts it at like, okay, he's back at practice this week. Hopefully he signs within the next week or so, right? Gets in there, gets the playbook. Yeah, then you're looking at maybe 1 to 2 weeks. I think the optimistic side is the week 12, 13. That makes a lot of sense if he signs within the next week or so. But then, you're looking at week 14 to 16. I think if you're a playoff contender, if you're a championship contender, you stash Odell Beckham. And at the very least, he's somebody you could move at the trade deadline for your fantasy football leagues. Maybe he's somebody you could – he gets signed to the Bills and you immediately trade him away on that hype, right? Because you're trying to just position and jockey for other things. So I definitely think that there's something to go along here with OBJ. Now, we've talked about the Cowboys now are heating up in this whole race because – they made a run for Brandon Cooks, weren't able to get him. They, Jerry Jones said on his radio show today that the Dallas Star, the Cowboy Star, would look great on his helmet, made us all barf.
America's team.
That's a possibility. Where would you like him to land, and how aggressive have you been on Odell Beckham?
Oh man, not as aggressive as you. We were talking. I thought we were enjoying our chat, and all of a sudden I looked down at the listener league. Odell Beckham snatched up. I was like, all right, fine. I won't even think about it. I was able to get him in a couple places, and I'm happy to stash him. It's like you said, heading into the playoffs. He's such a talented wide receiver. We all know the Odell Beckham catch, and he's done multiple catches like that. He is a big personality, and it's going to take a winning team with a good coach to do it. Fantasy football fan wise, I just want to see him on the Bills, man. I want to see him with Diggs, like, and it'd be so nice, man. They'd go deep with that wide receiver core. They're already going probably to the Super Bowl, honestly. I mean, they just lost the Jets, which is very surprising, but yeah, that would excite me the most.
Yeah, I think there's also a situation where he goes to Baltimore that could be very interesting. They've lost Bateman. They got Deshaun Jackson. Yeah, and if he would fill the biggest need there. So I think that Odell Beckham is somebody that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, Ronald's saying a lot of stuff that Odell was a talented. Now he's washed up diva.
Like it's been so long. Right?
I mean, I don't know if he's washed up. He had a great run with the Rams. He was almost the Super Bowl MVP. Like prior to tearing his ACL, he had a great Super Bowl. So, I don't know if that's like maybe spoken like a true Philadelphia Eagles fan who watched Odell and the Giants. Maybe that's where that's coming from. Giants are also another finalist as well. Who have a big need as well. So I think Baltimore, seriously, I think for the fantasy implications, Baltimore or New York make the most sense for me. That could be the biggest ceiling, or at least the biggest floor.
As a fan, though, I want to see him back in the Giants uniform.
Giants would be fun, man. They've been posting
in the playoffs. Like that'd be so cool.
Yeah,
it's a tough
so we'll see here.
Yeah,
we did this. He's got his bag here. He's got his bag packed. He's ready to see where he lands. So we'll find out what happens there. The second most added wide receiver, and this one, man, I'm hesitant to get behind, but Terrace Marshall is the second most added wide receiver, roster in 13% of sleeper leagues. Donnie, what is your take on the Terrace Marshall situation? I know they might go back to Baker Mayfield here. He's had two two back-to-back games here, but we've got the quarterback situation. We've had the hot and cold Panthers. What do you think about a lot of Panthers on the waivers getting picked up here?
Yeah, it's super gross. I don't feel good looking at anyone. I mean, the running game's okay, right? Because they're a bad team. They're going to have to maybe score some. And what's going to score on a bad team is probably a running back getting lucky to get in the red zone. But like you said, he had 2 weeks in a row with 12 or more PPR points. He had a 92 and a 93% snap share the last 2 weeks. He's getting the work. I mean, look, Boomer Sooner, Oklahoma Sooner fan. Baker has not looked good, and you don't want to start a wide receiver that Baker's throwing to right now, honestly. So yeah, I don't know. I think they named PJ Walker the starter, though, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. You're right. But I thought that maybe Baker had kind of earned a little bit more run, but they were like totally off Baker at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like they were down 31-0 or something like that. It looked really rough, and
yeah,
I would. Deep leagues, you need a spot start. I mean, he's versing Atlanta.
We've talked about Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, even Josh Palmer, who I'm not even sure if Josh Palmer is good or not, but he looked good against good against the Falcons, right? So yeah, I think that's kind of where you're at there. Okay, Mecole Hardman is probably where I think if you're in need of use now. His bye week's behind him. He's rostered in 48% of sleeper leagues. They got the Jaguars coming up here. And I'll just go ahead and group Mecole with a couple other guys here. Donovan Peoples-Jones, rostered in 36%. Wan'Dale Robinson dropped after his bye week, or during his bye week, I'm sure, 45%. And then Samori Toure, less than 1%. With all the injuries in Green Bay, he could definitely spike back up. Of all these guys, who is exciting you the most out of the crop of guys we've talked about here?
100% Wan'Dale.
Okay.
100%. I like Mecole. He finally got 9 targets, 7 receptions, a TD. He was like,
they also threw like 60 times in that game, right?
65, ridiculous. Yeah. Like 3 games. Right. I mean, 5 if you're the Panthers or the Falcons.
No kidding.
Yeah. Mecole excites me, his athletic ability, but 100% Wan'Dale is probably the wide receiver 1 there until Odell goes there. Look out. But yeah, I mean, they're a playoff team. They've played good. They've played close in these games, and they're throwing to him. I mean, he looked rough against the Seahawks, but Seahawks are good against a wide receiver. They suck against running back and tight end. So, yeah, Wan'Dale 100%. What are you thinking? Is it Toure? Are you a homer in this situation?
No, I kind of like between Wan'Dale and DPJ. What excites me about DPJ is he's actually shown some decent floor, and we're probably 3 weeks away now from Deshaun Watson back, which means I think he could hit a different ceiling. He's kind of the deep threat for them. I know Cooper can still get down the field, but DPJ is a guy with better speed right now that could get down the field. Maybe like a poor man's Will Fuller for this offense, where he's going to be like that big play guy for Watson. And right now he hasn't been bad. A couple good matchups on the schedule. I mean, anybody who's playing Miami tends to turn it into a shootout with them. You have to score. You got to get going. So I'm kind of liking DPJ even as a spot start this week. And I think longevity-wise, I think he mixes what you're trying to get out of Mecole with like staying power once Deshaun Watson comes back, if that makes any sense. I'm fading Terrace Marshall. I'm kind of fading Mecole Hardman for a guy like DPJ, and definitely Wan'Dale. I would put Wan'Dale above DPJ just because we've kind of seen it more consistently, and his ceiling is the number one target for the Giants, whereas DPJ's isn't. But make no mistake, I think the ceiling at any given game is probably bigger for DPJ, just given Wan'Dale's ADOT is a little bit lower. He's a slot guy. He's coming underneath. You know what I mean? And the other thing that's interesting with this is DPJ's usage without Njoku, because it seems to be getting a bit of an uptick without Njoku. He's playing like that secondary role for sure, locked in. I don't know how you feel about DPJ, but that's kind of the guy that's an honorable mention.
I jumped on DPJ, I think, week 2. Right. Yeah. And then he had like an off 2 weeks and he pissed me off and I dropped him and I haven't looked towards him since. So this is the first time I've talked about him since. But he's honestly a bigger floor than Mecole and probably the same ceiling.
So 71 or more receiving yards in 4 of his last 5 games. Yeah. And he's yet to score a touchdown at all this season, which tells me if he's getting all that yards and he hasn't scored yet, like he's probably bound for some positive regression, right? I think like he's probably going to get into the end zone here. So I really like him here, and he was probably dropped because he wasn't held through the bye. You know, in standard, he's only the wide receiver 57, so it's like it's kind of gross. But again, in PPR scoring, 12 or more PPR points in 4 of his last 5 with 9 in that 5th game. So I kind of think there's some real good stuff here.
Yeah, a quick question before we go to the next slide is, would you want Mecole Hardman right now or Tony if they're both on the waiver wire if you didn't need a spot start this week, if you just needed a playoff run wide receiver? What are you thinking? I think
Tony's still the stash, only because, look, I know it wasn't great. It wasn't gangbusters. It's not what we wanted.
His first game. Yeah,
it's his first game in. Yeah. He had the bye week. I understand. I understand you're either on one side of this. You're like, oh, Tony, like the upside is tantalizing, or like, oh, give me, miss me with the Tony shit. Like I feel like that's how Twitter's like kind of broken down. But you cannot deny that he has the opportunity to be the best wide receiver in that room. And if that's the case, because Hardman's never going to be that. Can he be a gadget guy? Yes. Now, could Tony be only as good as Hardman or worse? Yes, of course. But his ceiling is Juju type targets or more because of how good he's shown to be able to garner targets before. And remember, when he was demanding targets for the Giants in those few games, that's with the other guys on the field. Like that was with like Sterling Shepard was on the field, a guy that Daniel Jones really liked. There were other weapons on the field that he was taking targets away from. So I think with a full allotment of snaps, over the next 2 weeks, I think we're going to learn a little bit more about Tony, about where he's at. But if you're just wanting the stash for upside, I still think it's Tony.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was put off a little bit by the TikTok video I sent you of his face. Orlando Brown Jr. asked him the question. He looked like the Joker, kind of, with like a grill. It was pretty creepy. So it kind of put me off a little bit, but his talent still excites me.
Yeah, I mean, he's creepy as hell for sure.
Yeah.
Caesar asking a question. We'll get to all your questions here as we move through, but I wanted to get this one in here because he's getting a big reaction out of Jersey J. So we'll see what he says here. I'm 4-5 with a shot at the playoffs in a 12-man. Do I give away Pierce and Burrow for Keenan Allen? Wait, I'm sorry. Do I give away Pierce for Burrow and Keenan Allen? My team is Mariota, Kamara, Walker, Godwin, Terry, Connor, Hunt, Brandon Cooks, and Gabe Davis in my PPR league. I mean, I don't know why you would do this. I mean, I guess you get the upgrade, but you can't play Burrow this week. Keenan Allen, I don't know when that dude's coming back or what's happening there. Yeah, and I would keep Pierce. So I don't know about you, Donnie, but this isn't one I would do because like maybe a Gabe Davis. I know it might be hard, but maybe a Gabe Davis for Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, I would try to give them, you have Walker, Kamara, and Pierce. Just start them every week. Yeah. Give them Connor and Hunt for Burrow if he needs running. I mean, I would honestly maybe.
Yeah, I'm good with that too. If this guy's hurting for a running back, I would honestly, if you could do Gabe Davis and Hunt, that's where I would lean because Connor came back into a really nice role, and I'd want to kind of keep him for depth. But I would even do the 2-for-1 that Donnie said there too. He makes a great point at Connor and Hunt for Burrow if you can do it. Because again, you're not getting him if you're 4 and 5. You're not getting Burrow this week. He's on bye, so it's like you're punting another week at quarterback.
But he is a great quarterback to have right now. He's chucking that ball. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, so if we look at the running wide receivers, we're dropping Romeo Doubs, probably a high ankle. It hasn't been confirmed, but not looking good. Devin Duvernay and Demarcus Robinson, both the Baltimore wide receivers, are the second and third most dropped. I'm okay with this moving on from these guys, from a lot of the guys we talked, even Hardman, DPJ, Wandale, some of the guys, even Terrace Marshall, I guess. Like if you're in the need of the spot start, you might as well kind of roll it over.
It's tough because me and you were both excited for Devin Duvernay.
Yeah,
we see his talent. The offense needs weapons, and I mean, what did he do? He had 1.5 points in PPR.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with Devin Duvernay. It doesn't seem like he's an every down kind of player for them. He's not their number one when they go to like single and 2 wide receiver sets. They scheme him up stuff, which is it's a dangerous place to live as a fantasy wide receiver because you want to be on the field a lot. So that's my problem with Duvernay. And this is always going to be a run first team, a Lamar first team, a Mark Andrews first team, that kind of. And now with Likely, I think it could be like Andrews and Likely running kind of their. Like they may not even need to go get OBJ because they just have 2 very athletic tight ends they can move down the field. I mean, I would take OBJ if I was them, but
yeah, 100%.
All right, so we move on to the tight end position here, and the number one.
Finally did it!
I know, dude. Our video, I was talking to Johnny today. I was texting him. I said, Cole Kmet's going to make us wrong about him and right about him in the same year because we continuously have a video on there why Cole Kmet could win you your fantasy leagues with our guy Andrew Erickson for Fantasy Pros, and it gets shit on almost daily. I mean, we get comments almost daily about, oh, you should take this down. You should issue an apology. Well, not anymore, mother effers. Look at Cole Kmet as the number 1 added tight end over the last 2 weeks.
He's tight end 2 last week.
Yeah, and he was the tight end 2 last week. But over the last 2 weeks, he's the number 1 tight end in fantasy, 23% rostered there. And so when you look at Cole Kmet, Donnie, this has got to be a little bit exciting just based on what the Bears have been able to do and what he was coming in. We thought he could be this target earner. He scored some touchdowns. He's got Detroit this week. I mean, you got Mark Andrews on bye. Are you snatching up Cole Kmet?
I think I am, honestly. 9 points and then 22 points last 2 weeks. I mean, Isaiah Likely was tight end 9 with 1 reception last week.
Right.
So tight ends it's tough to get points. And it sucks. He sucked all season long, but the playoffs are coming up and he's trekking through I mean, that quarterback Fields looks better. He looks confident. That offense looks better. So
I promise you, nobody will ever remember what he did before this. If they pick him up now and he leads to a playoff run and he's like the best tight end down the last 8 weeks,
rest of the season,
that's all anybody's going to care about.
That's true. I'd pick him up. I'd be excited to pick him up. It's hard. The tight end world out there is difficult. So
absolutely. I think you summarized it well there when you talked about the 1 catch for Likely leading to a tight end 9 performance. That 1 single catch made him an actual confidence play when I said to fade him in my article. And so he shit on me with 1 catch, almost shit on me double because I was playing against him in my league of record. But I survived that by less than 2 points. Shout out Chris Thomas. Love you, buddy. All right, Greg Dulcich here is the second most added here, and that's because he had the bye last week, so you imagine his rostership dipped a little bit. I'm in on Dulcich as well, not just for the hair and the Weird Al Yankovic look here, but the fact that he has been killing it as well, back-to-back weeks before the bye of great usage, actually 3 weeks in a row of great usage, and they are desperate for players here. And this is a guy, normally you might say, normally you might say, oh, with the rookie tight end, I'm a little bit worried about them hitting this wall. Well, they just had their bye. So I actually kind of like this for him to get even more ingrained in the offense. They can start to scheme up even more stuff here. So I definitely would be going with Dulcich as a guy. And he's going to play Tennessee this week. They had started the year pretty tough against tight end. They've loosened up quite a bit. And I think you can attack them through the wide receiver and tight end position as you're not trying to run on them because they are such a good stout run defense. And then Cade Otton, Donnie, I wanted to ask you about Cade Otton here because he's starting to uptick in his usage as well. What would you think about Cade Otton, and how would you rank these guys based on the way that they've been picked up?
Oh, man. Cade Otton had an exciting week. Tight end 4. 85% share. He had 91% snap share the week before and 81 before then. And his targets were 5, 5, and 6. And he's been more efficient last week. He got 5 of them for 68 yards and a touchdown. They're versus the Seahawks. So, man, the Seahawks suck against tight end. My gut says Dulcich just because he looked so good. We haven't seen a down week with him. We saw the whole season of Cole Kmet being down until recently. We saw Cade Otton be invisible, basically. I mean, kind of. He's had a couple of okay games, and then he come onto the scene now. I don't know if I'd chase the points. He is versus the good matchup against the Seahawks. I still think I'm going Dulcich, Kmet, than Otton, personally.
I like that ranking too. I kind of wanted to go Cole Kmet first just because he's reaffirming priors of what we thought. But I liked what you said there. We haven't seen Dulcich have a bad game. So basically, what do we always say? If somebody shows you who you are, believe them. I think Dulcich has kind of shown us that he's good enough to be in this mix, and I would continue to roll him out there. And I honestly, I had Evan Ingram as the number one guy I'd pick up. He had the injury. I went and got Dulcich because he was on the bye, so I was able to drop a player and get Dulcich. I'm excited to have him. And then even next week after, if Andrews' injury is lingering, you could even go with Dulcich again because I think he is becoming a mainstay in this Broncos offense.
Yeah, and
so we'll see what happens
with 2 quarterbacks, including Russell Wilson, who's not very good with tight ends.
That's an excellent point, Donnie, that it hasn't mattered who's starting for them. He's part of the game plan, and he's earned targets either way, which is something you don't see it across a lot of players, but tight end specifically is not something you normally see, that they just demand that target share. And that is something to be kind of noticed and put aside and filed away. So that's a good one there. The drop candidates here, Isaiah Likely is the number one dropped, and this has to totally do with his bye, I'm sure. And obviously people expecting Mark Andrews back after that.
Yeah.
We have Evan Ingram. Maybe. Yeah. Well, it's a tough matchup, too, against New Orleans. Evan Ingram, 68% rostered here. He's being dropped like a bad habit. And then Taysom Hill as well, who's at 67% and just isn't a tight end. And so you're going to get these down weeks when he isn't able to score and all those things like that. Of these guys, are you good dropping all these for, let's say, the 3 that we talked about before?
Oh, man. I would definitely be okay dropping Likely and Hill. Ingram's been one of my favorite tight ends this season. He's consistently, his floor until this last week has been around 10 points.
Had a back injury that took him out of the game, so we'll need to monitor that back injury.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's out longer or not, but if he's playing, I want to play him.
Okay. And the Kansas City matchup's a good one. It's a top 5 for tight ends against them.
Yeah. I did want to also shout out my guy, Noah Fant, who had a great week in deeper leagues. You know, we have 3 tight ends in Seattle that we throw to, and Fant has the speed and he has the excitement. So if you need a deep play, I think if none of those other guys we talked about is available, I'd be looking out for Fant.
Are you okay adding Fant, though, even with, like, as you said, the 2 other tight ends, like Will Dissly, Big Country's involved, obviously some of the other guys that are mixed in? You still think Fant's going to have decent weeks?
It's tough. He's only had 2 weeks over 10 points, but he's consistently getting over 60% snap share. And he has that breakaway speed. He's fast as some wide receivers and faster than some wide receivers in the NFL. And I think Gino's starting to trust this offense even more every week. #MVP. So we'll see. I'd be okay. Like I said, I would trust him over Likely and Hill. I'd rather have Fant than Likely and Hill. And then if those 3 other guys we talked about to pick up aren't available and you need a spot start, they're versing Tampa Bay this week, who are top 10, I think, worst against tight ends, or maybe even top 5. I think
they've been kind of like a tight end funnel defense at times especially when their secondary is healthy. Andre's got an interesting question. I'm tired of waiting on Pitts to getting volume. Which tight end to target? Kelsey, Andrews, and Kittle I couldn't get. He was trying to trade for them. If David Njoku is available, maybe you could buy low. Now you might have to wait a little bit. That's somebody I could go get. And then any of these guys, like the top 2 here, Cole Kmet and Dulcich. And if you're I'm not going to be the guy that's up here. You should drop Pitts, but like I think you could probably drop Pitts at this point. Like he's going to be a streamable option. Now, if somebody in your league could go ahead, yes, Goddard's a great one. Ronald talking about Goddard here. Now it's going to be hard to get Goddard. Yeah, it's going to be hard to get Goddard, but that would be the situation here. And our guy Brett Johnson says he needs a Ric Flair for Joe Mixon.
Oh my God, 55 points.
Yes. I'm just happy I didn't play against Brett Johnson in our League of Records, so I didn't have to deal with it. But here we go. You know what we got to do. Thank you, Brett Johnson, for the super chat. So we hit you with a little bit of a woo! Woo!
Yeah,
Appreciate you,
one.
Brett. It is going to be hard to get Goddard after that multiple touchdown performance, the big game.
Easier ones I want to talk about real fast as I cut you off before you finish that sentence is Gerald Everett and Pat Freiermuth.
Gerald Everett. Yes, Gerald Everett's a good one. Pat Freiermuth's a little bit.
He's been consistent, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true. If you're looking for consistency there.
Yeah. A lot of what you do is going to feel like a lateral move with Pitts. Yeah. But I promise you, I think you're going to be happy with the consistency versus the potential upside in Pitts while Marcus Mariota airballs him. Over 200 air yards, Donnie, in that game against the Chargers for Kyle Pitts because our guy Mariota can't connect with him. So Tanel Forrest says, what's up, fellas? Quick question. So we will get to all your questions here. I'm going to get trapped answering all these questions. We will definitely get to your questions. We're just about done with tight ends.
Keep them coming.
Just about done with the waiver wire, so we'll get to those there. Justin Fields is the number one added quarterback in fantasy, and this is just a PSA to let you know that Fields should be your number one waiver priority no matter what you've got going on, as long as you don't have one of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, maybe even Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes. As long as you don't have some of them, I'm going Justin Fields. We have some interesting questions we'll get to, but Justin Fields scorched earth, just set the record for the most rushing yards for a quarterback ever in a single game with 178. So he is on, just killing it, man. And that touchdown run against Miami was something. That was a highlight reel run. So our guy Justin Fields,
human being,
and he's a big guy too, so he's able to take some of these hits. So I think he's a good one. And I love all these questions coming in here, guys. We're going to get to them just shortly. Daniel Jones is the second most added quarterback here. He's got the bye out of his way. He's going to face Houston, who we noted in our live stream last week that Houston pretty tough against the quarterback. So maybe you don't want him this week, but he does get Detroit next week. So if you're in trouble here, maybe you got Josh Allen and you want to wait out this, UCL injury and you're trying to figure out what to do. Daniel Jones is an interesting ad to go pick up. And then, of course, Jimmy Garoppolo, who's got a cake schedule upcoming, and all he has to do is throw it to guys like Debo and CMC and Kittle, and they get it done for him. And he's got some good matchups up on the schedule, 39% rostered. Anything to add on any of these guys here, Donnie, before we start talking about the guys we drop?
Fields, 100% pickup. The other two, I don't know. Are you picking them up over Case Keenum if Josh Allen is out?
Yeah, I think I would. Definitely Daniel Jones. He offers the rushing upside, so I think he's got a path there. And I'm really in on Jimmy G. He's thrown 2 or more touchdowns, I think, in like 4 straight games. I think Jimmy G is a decent play. If you're just really looking to – I would be more comfortable in Jimmy G as my replacement for Josh Allen than I would be Case Keenum. Even with all the weapons there, I just feel a lot better because I think I could see Buffalo going very conservative if Josh Allen goes out because they're trying to win games and get it ready for when Josh comes back. So that's where I'd kind of be at. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo's, look, San Francisco's defense is nice. It's talented, but it's been leaky. It's had some issues. And that could push the offense to throw more. And I think that's where you could get some bigger balloon games here out of Jimmy Garoppolo.
And I just wanted to add one more to look out for is Deshaun Watson is coming back in a couple weeks. So
Yes, exactly. So that was one of our honorable mentions. And I think, you're just a few weeks away from that. If you've got the bench space to stash him, if you're riding a Justin Fields, this is the perfect matchup because his bye week is a week after Deshaun Watson comes back. So you can ride Justin Fields all the way to Deshaun Watson, see that first game, and then maybe make the switch for the playoffs if you like it. So I think that is a great strategy and a great ad as well. And then the only quarterback that's being dropped right now is my boy Aaron Rodgers here. This picture was taken before the ayahuasca, but it looks like he's in dire need of ayahuasca.
Are we sure?
Right
are you sure he wasn't on?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, man.
I'm good with dropping Aaron Rodgers for any of those guys we mentioned at this point. It's very sad, but that's where we're at. And that is where we are going. Shout out to Lady V, who is shouting out Austin here, who is, shout out to Austin and Chelsea, who are finishing up their election. Hope everybody got out to vote if they were able to and did their civic duty. But we appreciate everybody in here watching, and we appreciate everybody that was talking here. And we've got over 15 of you watching. Just a few likes. Get that like button up. And if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. We're about to roll through all your questions here, and we're going to start at the top. So please bear with us. And if you got more, drop them in the chat as well. Jersey J asking the first one, is Higbee droppable? Has 4 PPR points over the last 3 weeks. Thinking of grabbing Dulcich or Otten. I have Njoku, who is looking to come back this week. So, first of all, 2 things. Players are notoriously optimistic. I don't know that Njoku's going to be back, but that he said it's the plan, so we'll see. If he is, there's always the risk that he's going to re-injure or is less of his capacity. I like grabbing Dulcich. We talked about through the tight ends. I think I'd grab Dulcich, drop Higbee. He's been in more as a blocker, and this team just looks lost right now.
Yeah. I would grab both these guys over Higbee.
All right, so we're good there. We agree there. Let's see. Jersey J saying 6-3, lost by 12. Higbee gave me a 0. Yeah, I had Higbee and Pitts in a dual PPR tight end situation, and they both stunk it up. So I need facts, not hopes and dreams. I know, Albert, but I have Njoku. Yeah, I love Dulcich, and we get to that point where we need facts and not. I would just remind everybody, because I know this is just a little bit of a rant, and I know we're getting into that. The doldrums and the dog days of the season, and you're like, maybe you're down and out. We had our guy BJ coming in here 2-7. He says, I'm in last place. We got these. It's not only better for you with watching experience and playing experience to reinvest in your team and to work the waiver wires. It's just, it can turn around your season. And you're scared to start these guys, oh God, they're nobodies. But if you would have picked up Dulcich or Cole Kmet, and then you had added that to a roster that was just missing the tight end piece or just missing a couple points here and there, you could balloon up and get a couple wins to get yourself back in the playoffs. So don't give up. First of all, it's better for your league mates, even if you are out of it, but you're probably not as out of it as you think, and you got to keep grinding the waiver wire to keep it going. That's why we're here grinding with you tonight on this one. So
a lot of those 12-man leagues have 8-team playoffs. So
exactly. So if that's the case, that's how our league of record rolls. And I'll get guys like Brett Johnson or other friends, and they'll be like, I'm out of it, man. Oh, I suck. And I'm like, you're not out of it, dude. It will come down to the wire about who gets in and who doesn't. So definitely keep grinding the waiver wire, keep looking for trades. In our league, it's not till Thanksgiving, the deadline. I'm in a couple leagues where it has passed. But if your deadline hasn't passed, you need to be working those trade calls too, because any chance you can to turn around. Would you trade Swift and Khalil Herbert? Oh, no. I think Justin Herbert. Would you trade DeAndre Swift and Justin Herbert for Danny Dimes and Dalvin Cook, full point PPR?
Man.
I might do this deal. Because we talked about the upside rushing for Daniel Jones. I know he's going to give you those 9-point games, but right now Herbert's doing that too. Herbert hasn't been elite. He's got his weapons dinged up. I would definitely do this deal. The more I talk through it, I think Cook. Yeah. I don't think Swift's going to be healthy the rest of the season. Now, what that looks like, he could increase his usage, but I don't think he's ever going to be what we thought he was going to be when we were drafting him in the first round.
Yeah, and to top that off, Swift is on a bad team. And why play your best players when you know you're not going anywhere late in the season? Cook is on one of the best teams in the NFC. Yes. They need him to play. They need him to do well. Gross. They're going to throw to him. He's going to run. Gross. Says the Packers fan beautifully. Yeah. And Herbert's been a disappointment. I drafted Herbert when I could in a lot of places. And that teams just looked rough all around. So
people were making the case as Herbert, and in a lot of spots he was the second most drafted quarterback behind Josh Allen.
Yeah,
imagine if you did that. If you did that, man, you'd be hurting right now.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't have to say imagine to you, Donnie, because you might have him in a couple spots.
I have him in one super flex. I took Lamar over him in another league, though.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart. Is Fields and Watson a great QB combo rest of the season? Andre, you took words right out of my mouth. That is definitely a path to some great points down the stretch. And could be you just end up rocking with Fields, right? Because Watson ends up doing his thing and he sucks or something. But what we've seen out of Brissett and this offense is it's going to be good. And so Watson would have to just really screw the pooch. And now he's been off the field for a while, but I do like Fields and Watson as a great combo rest of season.
Yeah.
Go ahead?
I was just going to say, I just pointed at you, but I think I'm on mirror mode. Am I pointing at you right now?
No, you're not. Yeah, you're on the other side. Here, try it now.
There you go.
No, go the other way.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved it around.
Yeah, on my screen is different, so I didn't remember that. Yeah, so it's fine.
Do you guys like Fields or Tua rest of season? I'll give this one to Donnie,
man,
because I'm in on Tua so hard. So
that's tough. I
Actually, I will take this one back. Not to cut you off.
I'll think.
I think Fields is the right answer. I want it to be Tua because I like Tua a lot. The passing attack is good. Tua does not scramble or run as much. And Fields, if he just gives you a little bit of passing, you see the ceiling. Like in this game, obviously he didn't pass for a lot, but he hit some touchdowns. Yeah. Yes, and that's the ceiling you get. Tua needs to be perfect in the passing game, and he has been. And there's been he's got good enough wide receivers to do it. But Fields does a lot of his own work, which is really nice. And Tua just seems to be like a Jimmy G plus because of the offense, you know?
Yeah, before you cut me off, I was going to say the same thing. I'm going to go for the talent and excitability over the weapons around the quarterback. If Tua was on the Bears, no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not choosing the Bears offense, 100%. Fields makes this offense exciting. And I think I'm going to stick with Fields for fantasy football.
I just traded away Fields, Ronald says, in a super flex and got Jonathan Taylor and Matt Stafford for him in return. I kind of like this buy low on getting Jonathan Taylor, but if Jonathan Taylor gets shut down for any reason, the Colts, go full tank, this one's going to look real bad, especially with how bad Stafford's been and how good.
Do you have any other options besides Stafford? Because he's been rough.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a good one.
But yeah, JT is everyone's number one pick mostly, except him and CMC. The hope is there. The hope and a dream. I'm hoping for you.
All right, let's see here. Yeah, Ronald saying I'd be worried about Mostert. I think that is the case. I don't know how you couldn't be after that performance by Jeff Wilson. Yeah. Watson or
touchdown, though.
Would you go Watson or Burrow rest of season? Now, technically, you can't say rest of season here, Randy, because Burrow's got the bye. We've got Watson not playing until week 13. But why don't we say that? From week 13 on, Donnie, would you take Burrow or Watson?
I'm looking at their the playoff matchups just to confirm my bias. Ooh. So Watson's versus Washington the final week of fantasy football playoffs, which excites me a little more. It almost put me over the edge, but I'm just going to go with Burrow. I think Burrow's a solidified top 5, top 6 or 7 wide
Burrow's floor is there, and I think his ceiling is there too. And by the time you get Watson back, is Jamar Chase back? Because then the ceiling for Burrow is there too again. So I actually would go with Burrow. Ronald in agreement with Donnie and I on that as well. Thielen versus Buffalo or Herbert versus Detroit. So this is Khalil Herbert versus Detroit, or would you go Adam Thielen versus Buffalo? One thing I will say, Randy, about Adam Thielen is he's never not scored a touchdown in 3 straight non-injury games, as our boy Ian Hurts points out. So he's due for a touchdown. They're playing Buffalo. It's a very tough matchup. So I would actually go Herbert here because I think Herbert's shown his explosivity. This is a great matchup. So both backs are going to be great starts in this matchup. And I think I would just roll with Khalil Herbert, the runningest team in the league. Probably.
I don't know. I was thinking the same thing. That I searched up Herbert real fast against Miami, who's also a great matchup, and they needed points. He only had 28% snap share. Well,
it's hard to get more snaps, and get more rushes when your quarterback's breaking the rushing record.
Yeah, for quarterbacks. Yeah, but don't you think he's going to do that against Detroit too?
Yeah, maybe. Are you? I'm still in on touchdown
thing. I think I'm gonna go Thielen. I think we're gonna be divided in this one.
All right. Okay. I feel that. Let's see. We've got some talk about Rachaad White in the chat as well. Is there a chance that Matt Ryan starts? I don't think it'll be this week. Jeff Saturday already said Ellinger, but I do think there is a chance down the stretch that they could go back to Matt Ryan. But I don't know, man. I don't know what the Colts are doing. I have no idea.
Do they care? Getting a second-round pick for that Duck?
Yeah, no joke. Are you guys looking to trade Swift? I did trade Swift away. I got T. Higgins for him. That was where I was willing to go, but a little bit more desperate for me to win games now. So if you want to get a little bit more, I don't blame you.
I love Swift. I love the talent for Swift. I think I was right there with Johnny all offseason, banging the table for Swift. The injury hurt him a lot. The bad offense is going to hurt him even longer. I would be willing to trade him high if possible.
Manuel Lucero says, I really need a tight end. Pick 2 to roster. David Njoku, Greg Dulcich, Isaiah Likely, Taysom Hill. Thank you both. I think I like those first 2. Yeah, I think that Dulcich at the very least could bridge the gap for Njoku, but maybe he ends up being better. Who knows? Well, let's see here. We had some OBJ talk, of course. Talked about fading Hardman. We got Cesar's question in here. We talked about the tight ends. And then Tanel Forrest, who says, what's up, fellas? Quick question. Pick 3, D-Hop, Gabe Davis, Josh Palmer, Brandon Ayuk, George Pickens, or Rondell Moore. I guess this is for this week, so we've got a lot of options. I think if Josh Allen is out, I don't want to be starting Gabe Davis. We've got Kansas City versus San Francisco, so I'd actually fade Palmer here because that's going to be a tough secondary and a tough defense for him to go. You can't bench DeAndre Hopkins right now.
I called it weeks ago. If you guys watched the stream.
That is true. Donnie was in, and I was hesitant to be in on Hopkins because we almost saw him tail off a little bit last year. He was very touchdown dependent, but this year he's come in really hot, looks great. Yeah. So I'd continue to be rolling him out there no matter what. So D-Hop for me. If Josh Allen goes, I'd put Gabe Davis in there just for the upside. But I don't find what would you do with Rondell Moore here? Would you play both D-Hop and Rondell Moore?
No, I think I would be going D-Hop. That being said, against the Seahawks, Rondell Moore was targeted. I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but watching that game in detail, I feel like Kyler Murray threw to Rondell Moore almost double than he did Hopkins.
Yeah, well, what happened was Hopkins scored early, and then in the second half, I think he only had one catch. He would have had another one.
Maybe he
would have had another touchdown, but fucking Robbie Anderson had a false start and ruined the touchdown for him.
Yeah, I think in this question though, I'm going D-Hop and Ayuk. Ayuk is versus the Rams,
and that's 2. Would you go Gabe Davis if Josh Allen's in?
3. Oh, my fault.
Yeah, it was 10 targets, 8 catches, and 69 nice yards for Rondell Moore.
Maybe more. I mean, the Rams. Oh, I'm sorry. The 49ers versus the Chargers and Cardinals versus the Rams. I mean, why not? Honestly, they're going to the Rams and the Cardinals throw the ball a lot. I think those would be
I think I would as well. I think I'd go D-Hop and I'd go Rondell Moore and then Ayuk. But if Josh Allen plays, I think I would go Gabe Davis
for the upside
over Rondell Moore. Yeah.
You know, he injured himself and then he threw like a 70-yard bomb. Like,
oh yeah, it was like a dart. It was right into Gabe Davis's hands and he dropped it. Yeah. Ronald, D-Hop, Ayuk, and Moore are his 3. Andre asking about going to acquire Ertz. I think that's a good one. That's another target as well. Would you trade Davis and Palmer? Trade Davis and Palmer. For Stevenson? If you get Stevenson, yes, but I don't know if you're asking to trade all 3.
Stevenson?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. And I would go do that, absolutely.
But if you're trying to trade away Stevenson, no.
I would not trade away Stevenson. I would, if you can sell high on Davis, that's fine. And Palmer. Is Fields and Watson? Yep, we got that one in. Sumo Bro, 4 and 5 in a 20-man full point PPR. QB is Pickett, wide receivers Jefferson, St. Brown, Zay Jones, and Terrace Marshall. Running backs are JT, Elijah Mitchell, JaMychal Hasty. Tight end is Pat. What are we feeling about JT and who do I get? Yeah, I mean, JT one is tough. And Elijah Mitchell one's a tough break, too, because they traded for CMC.
The 20-man league, I was like, dang, slim pickings right now. But yeah,
I honestly wouldn't mind trying to trade out of JT to get more depth. Like, if you get a 2 or 3 for 1 for guys that are usable pieces for JT, I don't mind getting out. Because even if he comes back, Donnie, in the next couple of weeks, he's going to be probably limited based on the ankle. It's not a great offense. It's not something that you're like, what is his value? RB2? You know,
he's not like Mr. Unlimited.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
I'd be willing to trade high, get a starting wide receiver and a starting running back for him, potentially. But the thing I want to talk about real fast is I'm in a 20-man league, but it's a dynasty. If it's a dynasty, do not trade JT.
Oh, yeah. I don't think this is, but if it isn't, you don't want to.
I just wanted to make
people are getting wild there, though, on Twitter. We saw some trades out of him in Dynasty. And yes, he confirmed Davis and Palmer for Stevenson. Absolutely. You smash that. If you can get that deal, go get that done.
Yeah.
Does Isaiah Pacheco have any value, or am I better off dropping him for Eli Mitchell? Ooh.
I mean,
it's probably about the same. It's like a lateral move. I would actually say maybe there's more upside for Mitchell because if CMC goes down versus if CEH goes down, it's probably still a committee. With Mitchell, we know he could at least be the guy. So,
I'd do it.
I think so.
Right there with you.
Let's see. What's up, Riders? Chambers in here?
Rideles.
Yeah. I played Taysom. Remember, we tried to ask about it.
Yeah,
He's like, I don't care.
Right.
Answer my question.
We don't know which one said it right.
Yeah. Oh, played Taysom Hill and Logan Thomas, so I feel you. Ooh. Would you drop DeAndre Carter for Donovan Peoples-Jones? Yes, I'm in on that deal. I like DPJ definitely, and half point PPR for sure. Rank these tight ends. Tight end trade targets: Hawkinson and Njoku, Pat Freiermuth, Ertz and Everett.
You want to take it first?
Yeah, so I think I would be going.
Ooh,
I think I'd be going. Oh, man, if we're just going rest of season upside,
rest of season.
The Njoku injury scares me, but I think I'd rank him first, then Hawkinson, then Ertz, then Everett, and then Freiermuth. That's how I'd go.
We're close. I would do Hawkinson, then Njoku.
Okay, so you like the health of Hawkinson a little bit more than Njoku's.
Yeah, and that offense is.
Yep,
they're looking great.
Yeah.
He excites me. I mean, I want both of them. I want them both.
Yeah, so we got that one in. Samuel Rojas. Herbert is my QB1, and Rodgers was my backup during my draft. What a disaster. Oof. That is rough, Samuel. Keep hitting that waiver wire. Keep turning it over.
Yeah.
I think you skipped my drop question. Well, fire it in there again, Jay. I don't think I did. Let me see.
He DM'd you.
I need upside. I'm going up against Mahomes and Brady with me starting Herbert and Goff or Russ. Can't believe I picked up Herbert. Mahomes, I was undefeated 6-0. Now I lost 3 in a row. No, that's just you complaining. If we did, you got to get back in there. Val's the GOAT says, my team is 8-1. Mahomes, JT, CMC, D-Hop, Amari Cooper. Just traded Thielen for him. Traded Thielen for Amari Cooper. That's a good deal.
Real fast. I think he was asking a question. I think Mahomes, Goff, or Wilson.
Which one of those?
Pick 2.
Oh, no. He's saying it was a. Well, I mean, I would start Wilson and Mahomes.
Okay.
That's who I'd start out of those two. Anyways, my team: Mahomes, JT, CMC, D-Hop, Amari Cooper. Just traded Thielen for him. I have Kelsey, ETN, Damian Pierce, Lazard, Montgomery, Juju. What should I do? Someone offered me Jamar and Olave for JT and Amari. I mean, you get Jamar and Olave, right? You have JT.
No, he gets Jamar and Olave.
I like that deal. I mean, you're 8-1. You can kind of wait out the Jamar thing. You get Olave to replace Amari right now, and you're just basically trading the JT and Chase injuries, right? So
CMC, Pierce, and ETN as well.
Yeah, I kind of like that a lot.
I like it too.
Yeah, and you're saying I'm not selling JT at his floor. I don't think this is selling it at his floor. I mean, you got Jamar Chase in the first round, so I don't think this is selling it at his floor at all.
Yep.
Drop Isaiah McKenzie for Mecole Hardman. I need a good receiver to stash. I think they're about neutral here, and McKenzie actually ran the most routes from the slot, so I think that is a situation where they're kind of like McKenzie might have a little more upside because he could actually run more routes. Well, with the Allen injury, maybe not, but I don't know. I think it's a lateral move. If you want to do it, I think so.
Yeah, if you want to stash, though, I think I'd go Tony.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, God, we need to make that a joke.
Yeah, absolutely, we will. Yeah. Would you drop Rachaad White, Dylan, Wan'Dale Mostert for a kicker? I do not want to drop Tucker. He's like a wide receiver too, or Mooney.
I'm not taking this question. I hate kickers so much.
Well, you can't drop Tucker, so you have to drop. I guess Mostert would be the one I would drop here.
Yeah.
Maybe Wan'Dale, but I wouldn't want to drop him. Yeah, I would probably drop Mostert, and then
because I wouldn't want to lose Wan'Dale. I wouldn't want to lose White.
What I would try to do, Jersey J, is trade away a couple of these pieces to somebody and do a 2-for-1. So you free up the roster space, but you get rid of some of this. You pick your 2 you're most willing to part with, and you go and upgrade for another. Yeah, I think so. Well, Dylan with the Aaron Jones injury, I might go Wan'Dale and I might go Mostert and Mooney or Wan'Dale and Mostert. Yeah. And like try and package them for some. Maybe you can get it. Maybe you can get the Wilson. Jeff Wilson GM to go get you that. I do that for Jeff Wilson, a little bit more of an uptick. So The only piece missing from my team is tight end, so I'm desperately trying to get one. Yeah, I feel that. And if you got Cole Kmet on waivers, though, that could be the missing piece. Dulcich could be the missing piece, Silva. So it's not like it's completely out of the woods there. That's kind of where I would rock with it.
Yeah. I know a lot of leagues, that 12-man leagues, that every team rosters at least 2 tight ends. So it's like even more slim pickings. So I feel you, man. I'm right there in a few leagues.
Yeah. I have 3 top 15 wide receivers and 3 top 15 running backs, Fields, Dak, and Watson as QB. Dude, you should – I wonder if you could move Dak. I wonder if you could move Dak to somebody that was rolling through Brady and Rodgers and move him now before he has down games. Go move Dak for a tight end if you can. That's what I would try and do. Wilson on –
Or maybe the upside of Watson too. Maybe he stinks and you can sell him high right now.
Yeah, then you could roll with Dak and Fields the rest of the way. Yeah. I don't mind that either. Definitely. Probably has a little bit more of a floor than what we've seen, because Watson been missing football for a while. All right, Donnie, that does it for us tonight. Any last words here for Whisper Nation as we head on into waivers?
Man, enjoy your week, and we have another really exciting Thursday matchup coming up. So
I'm actually more confident in this one because it's two bad teams, so they could they should kind of get it going.
I like the hopefulness.
Otherwise, we'll be looking like this.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I agree with Donnie. Good luck on your waivers tonight. We'll be back with you Thursday night for the Thursday night watch party. And of course, Friday, the news and nuggets rolling into Sunday, your lineups as well. For Donnie Tubbs, I'm Big Travie. We're the Fantasy Whispers. We're out of here. Peace.
Right here. Look at you go. You made it to the end of another one of our videos. Hey, if you still have some questions, I totally understand. Or you just want to join an awesome fantasy football community, head on over to our Discord chat. Link is in the description below. And if you're still not